Once upon a time, when wishing still worked, there lived a king whose daughters were all beautiful. But the youngest was so stunning that the sun itself was astonished every time it shone on her face. Near the king's castle was a great, dark forest, and in that forest, under an old lime tree, there was a well. On very warm days, the king's youngest child would go out to the forest and sit by the side of this cool fountain. When she got bored, she would take out her favorite toy, a golden ball, and toss it high into the air and catch it. One day, however, the princess's golden ball didn't fall back into her waiting hand. It landed on the ground and rolled straight into the well. The princess watched it with wide eyes, but the ball vanished. The well was deep, so deep you couldn't even see the bottom. At this, she began to cry, and her crying grew louder and louder. Suddenly, a voice said, "What's wrong, king's daughter? You're weeping so loudly that even a stone would feel sorry for you." She looked around to see where the voice came from and saw a frog stretching his big, ugly head out of the water. "Oh, old water splasher, is that you?" she said. "I'm crying for my golden ball, which has fallen into the well." "Be quiet and don't weep," the frog replied. "I can help you, but what will you give me if I bring your toy back up?" "Whatever you want, dear frog," the princess said. "My clothes, my pearls and jewels, even the golden crown I'm wearing." The frog answered, "I don't care about your clothes, your pearls, or your golden crown. But if you will love me and let me be your friend and companion, sit by you at your little table, eat from your little golden plate, drink from your little cup, and sleep in your little bed. If you promise me this, I will go down and bring your golden ball back up." "Oh yes," she said, "I promise you everything you wish." But she thought to herself, what a silly frog. He just sits in the water and croaks. He can't be a real companion to a human. Once the frog had her promise, he dipped his head into the water and sank down. A short while later, he came swimming back up with the ball in his mouth and threw it onto the grass. The princess was overjoyed to see her plaything again. She snatched it up and immediately ran away. "Wait, wait," the frog called. "Take me with you. I can't run like you can." But she paid no attention and hurried home, quickly forgetting all about the poor frog who had to hop back into his well. The next day, as the princess sat at the table with the king and all the nobles, eating from her little golden plate, something came creeping up the marble staircase. Splish, splash, splish, splash. When it reached the top, it knocked on the door and cried, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." She ran to see who was there, but when she opened the door, she saw the frog. She slammed the door shut, her heart pounding, and hurried back to her seat, completely frightened. The king saw how scared she was. "My child, what are you afraid of? Is there a giant outside trying to carry you away?" "Oh no," she replied. "It's not a giant, but a disgusting frog." "What does a frog want with you?" the king asked. "Dear father, yesterday when I was playing by the well, my golden ball fell in. The frog got it back for me, and because he insisted, I promised he could be my companion. But I never thought he could actually get out of the water. Just then there was a second knock, and the voice cried out again, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me. Have you forgotten what you said to me yesterday by the cool waters of the well?" The king's face grew stern. "That which you have promised, you must perform. Go and let him in." She had no choice. She opened the door, and the frog hopped in, following her all the way to her chair. He then cried, "Lift me up beside you." She hesitated, but one look from the king made her obey. Once on the chair, the frog wanted to be on the table, and when he was on the table, he said, "Now push your little golden plate closer so we can eat together." She did as he asked, though it was clear she hated every moment of it. The frog seemed to enjoy his meal, but every bite the princess took felt like it was choking her. Finally, the frog said, "I have eaten, and I am satisfied. Now I'm tired. Carry me to your little room, make your little silken bed ready, and we will lie down and go to sleep." The king's daughter began to cry. She was terrified of the cold, slimy frog sleeping in her pretty, clean bed, but the king grew angry. He who helped you when you were in trouble should not be despised by you now. So she took hold of the frog with 2 fingers, carried him upstairs, and put him in a corner. But when she was in her bed, he crept up to it and said, "I'm tired. I want to sleep as well as you. Lift me up, or I will tell your father." At that, the princess was terribly angry. She picked him up and threw him with all her might against the wall. "Now you'll be quiet, you horrid frog," she yelled. But when he fell, he was no longer a frog. He was a prince with kind and beautiful eyes. He explained that a wicked witch had cursed him, and only she, the princess, could have broken the spell. And now, by her father's will, he was to be her dear companion and husband. The next morning, as the sun rose, a magnificent carriage pulled up, drawn by 8 white horses with ostrich feathers on their heads, all harnessed with golden chains. Behind the carriage stood the prince's loyal servant, faithful Henry. Henry had been so heartbroken when his master was turned into a frog that he had 3 iron bands placed around his heart to keep it from bursting with grief. The carriage was there to take the prince and princess to his kingdom. Faithful Henry helped them both in, overjoyed at his master's deliverance. As they drove along, the prince heard a loud cracking sound behind him. He turned and cried, "Henry, the carriage is breaking." "No, master, it is not the carriage," Henry replied. "It is a band from my heart, which was bound in my great pain when you were a frog in the well." Again, and then once more they heard a cracking sound. Each time the prince thought the carriage was breaking apart, but it was only the bands springing from the heart of faithful Henry, because his master was finally free and happy.